Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, friends and family. I'm on vacation, so I'm going to be on vacation all this week, so I'm trying to kick back. But did we have an exciting weekend that happened? Not going to talk about Caitlin Clark because y'all don't really care about women's sports. What I am going to talk about is the trial and conviction of our former president, who is now a convicted felon. I am not surprised that he was found guilty. Not at all. I knew that since last year. Numbers don't lie. There was no way out of that. Now, he's got a couple other cases coming up where there's a little bit of leeway where he might be able to convince somebody, oh, that's an opinion, that's not, whatever. But in this one, I knew he was going to be convicted. I also knew that diehard Trump fans were going to have a little bit of cognitive dissonance, and they were going to make up an excuse or a reason. And I like to call this theory, all roads lead to Rome. All roads lead back to Rome. That's an old phrase, okay? So if he was innocent, they would say, oh, it was a sham trial. Of course he was innocent. Of course he got off. But once he was convicted, oh, it was a sham trial. Of course they were going to convict him. Didn't matter for diehard Trump fans. Didn't matter what the verdict was. They were going to make it work in their head, okay? None of that surprised me. I'll tell you what did surprise me, and it actually bothered me, was when I saw the memes from people that call themselves Christians, call themselves Jesus-loving Christians, and they were sharing memes that said, Jesus was also found guilty. First off, you're comparing this flesh and blood secular man with your Lord and Savior. That's a little bit of blasphemy, okay? That's number one. Number two, and this stuff boggles my mind. Jesus was not found guilty. Jesus didn't have a trial. He was persecuted. There's a difference, okay? And if you actually knew what you were talking about, you would know that it was Pontius Pilate, and he was the Roman governor of Judea. He's the one that had Jesus crucified. There was no trial. He wasn't found guilty. He was persecuted. Okay, so that really bothers me that Christians are sharing that sort of thing. Conservative Christians. Oh, I love Jesus, but I'm comparing this dude to the perfect person who Jesus never committed any sins. Let's also remember that Jesus didn't commit any sins. Okay, Jesus was perfect. He didn't lie. He wasn't guilty of greed, lust, wrath, adultery, or fornicating with a porn star. But this is the guy that you're comparing to Jesus? Man, get the... That was my emotional response. Okay? Let me give you the logical response now. Even though Trump was found guilty, there's still going to be people that vote for him. Okay? And you can be a convicted felon and still be president in the United States. All right. So remain vigilant. Make sure you go out and vote. Do not let this man get back in office, because if you do, he's going to take a page out of Vladimir Putin's playbook. If you let Trump get back in office, okay? Russia used to have a similar system of ours where you could have two 4-year terms, okay? 2 4-year terms. He did that already. Then, after he was out, after his 8 years, he became the prime minister of Russia. After he was prime minister, he ran again to be president. All right? Once he got back into the office, his political opponents started disappearing. And he had their parliament rewrite their constitution. So now it's no longer 4-year terms, it's 6-year terms. Okay? So right now he can be in office to 2036, okay? Plus the 8 years he's already done. You do the math, all right? The last election that Russia had was just in March, 3 months ago in March, okay? Do you know what happened to his opponent? The guy that they thought was going to become the next president and depose Putin? He wound up in a Russian jail, a gulag. Mysteriously died in February, just a few weeks before the election. Died in a Russian jail. Maybe it's coincidence. I wasn't there. But I know that he is a dead man. A few weeks before the election that he might have won. And somehow or another, nobody wants to run against Putin anymore because they wind up dead or in jail. And now if you don't think that something like that could happen here in America, where Trump has not only packed the Supreme Court, but he keeps supporting MAGA Republicans so that he can set himself up, possibly change our Constitution. He already admitted he'd be dictator for a day. You think that was a Freudian slip of the tongue? No, he meant that stuff. Okay? and then he changes our Constitution and decides he's never going to leave. Now we've got a dictator in America. You cannot let that sort of thing happen. Okay? You don't have to believe me. You could think it's conspiracy. Look it up yourself. You can see it. It just happened 3 months ago. I'm sorry, 3.5 months ago. This guy died in a Russian jail that almost or could have won the presidency. As coincidental as that is. If you don't think somebody like Trump might have coincidences like that happen around him as well, Lord have mercy. What are they teaching people in school nowadays? Anyway, I've said my piece on the subject, and hopefully you guys get out and vote and make sure this guy does not get back into office, and then we can finally put this chapter of American history to rest. Thank you.